Throughout my whole pregnancy, I had a very, very happy, relatively straightforward pregnancy. I was just in a really good space up until the birth.
And we get to the hospital and we go to get scanned, and I'm looking at the screen going, why is it so still? I've never seen it so still. And then the sonographer says, I'm sorry. I'd say if there was a dividing point between my life before, my life after, it was that moment.
Long story short, it ended up being a forceps delivery. My baby arrived well, but within seconds of his birth, I started to bleed.
In that room, there was everything. It was a microcosm of life. In the midst of that, I mean, there was wailing and sobbing and crying, and my wife turns to me and she says, I know this child is gone, but I intend to bring her into the world with all the grace and dignity she deserves. And if it's a girl, that should be her name, which is how Grace got her name.
As my husband describes it, who was a surgeon at the time, he'd never seen so much blood in a room before. And he was left with this baby as they rushed me to theatre. But coming round, and the first thing that I was like, where's my baby? And it was just such an intuitive thing, but I was like, where's my baby? And there's just panic when I was united with him. And the only thing, it's like that functional part kicked in. I was like, okay, I need to feed him. And I just remember feeling just this sense of numbness. And it wasn't how I'd imagined it was going to be.
And we've come back and life resumes. And in our mind, everything has changed. And yet nothing's changed. Everything, the world's still the same. And you don't, your brain doesn't know what to do, your body doesn't know what to do, and there's a real feeling of being lost.
But I just remember it being really dark. My family were saying, I think you need to go speak to someone. I'll never forget it. I was in and out within about 4.5 minutes. I was sent out with a prescription for sertraline, an antidepressant, and I sat in the car park and I just cried because I felt like nobody was really seeing me.
The person giving birth is not the only person that comes out of this with trauma. Both have our own trauma coming out of that. And I think it's really, really, really important that the wider family are also seen as extended patients.
Bizarrely, I think there just came a moment where my son was very much part of that healing, because I left that one of the classes I'd been to and I was just so fed up. I was like, there's nobody that I can speak to. As we walked home, he was looking at the clouds in a way that only babies can. And I looked up at the clouds, and there was just this complete moment of mindfulness, is what we call it now, but this sense of, oh my God, it's me and you, toots. You know, he was looking at it with such wonder, and I was like, maybe there is hope.
And I think if there's one thing I want to say to people, is just talk about it. Find someone to talk about it with, because the problem is a lot of people, a lot of your friends don't know how to deal with it and don't know how to talk with you about it.
I think anyone that's only ever gone through trauma will know how dark it feels. And the fear is real, because you think, I'll never be able to overcome this. And that's where, so this was 7 years later, that I had my first birth trauma psychologist, who held my hand and led me through slowly unpacking what had happened.
So these last 2 to 3 years have been some of the hardest in my career, and they've been hard because the profile of maternity services has risen. The voice of women, quite rightly, has been loudest, and the loudest I've ever heard it in my career. What Make Birth Better did was it gave me the tools and it empowered me to see the importance of trauma-informed care. I can't rave about it enough. It has honestly been some of the most pivotal training that I've ever done in my career. This is such a pivotal, life-changing moment for any woman, birth person and father. It's really key that we make birth better, that this pivotal change in their lives is the best that it can be. But if we get it right at the foundation, simply, for free, be kind, make birth better, we will see the impact for generations to come.
It's a right to be able to understand your pregnancy journey, your birth journey and beyond. It's the health not just of your child, but it's yours. I think that we as a society lead women to believe that birth is going to look one way and that's the right way, but it's a spectrum.
We can have births at home that are just as good as births in hospital. They all need to be specific to the people giving birth, and if we can make that process as best as it can be, I mean, it doesn't even need saying, does it?